Welcome back, everyone. Today I'd like to sit here and talk with you guys about these infamous little devils, power adapters. And we all have them. We've got all different types of them. They power all sorts of stuff. But there's some very important information on them that I think everybody should know, and why you shouldn't throw them away just because the equipment that you had it plugged into goes bad or because you don't need it anymore. I myself keep a drawer full of these because of instances just like right now. So this white one right here, this one goes to a set of LED lights that are in the front of my house, and you can see I had them spliced into an extension cord. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It was an extension cable, which is just a 2-conductor cable that went down the front of my house, and it powered both my lights. And apparently it was too much for this little guy. You wouldn't think so because they're LEDs and they don't draw that much current. But here, if you look here on the data plate, you can see it can input 100 to 240 volts, or it outputs 12 volts at 833 milliamps, or 0.8 of an amp. So 0.8 of an amp is not very much. So this guy here is inexpensive. It's basically garbage. I should have knew better than to put it in this place and expect it to function for a long period of time. But it's what came with one of the lights, and I put 2 of these strips of lights in front of my house. And normally this should push it, but apparently not. So this guy's garbage, and I found a replacement. This one comes out of my drawer. So here, if you look at this data plate, this one here, it's 12 volts, 1.5 amps, which is right here in the middle, and it gives you a little pin out for the barrel connector. And this is the barrel connector right here. So the reason it's important to know the pin out for the barrel connector is because some manufacturers get pretty tricky, and you can see how it says the positive, it says right here, that the positive is the inside of the barrel connector and the negative is the outside. Well, some manufacturers, they get tricky and they put the positive as the outside and the negative as the inside. And when you plug a normal power adapter like this into that device, it won't work. In fact, sometimes it'll blow up the device, and the manufacturer won't warranty it because you used a non-approved power supply and they want you to buy their power supply. But this is how you beat that. So what you're going to do is, you can see that the inside is already positive. So if I need a power supply for something, you can see that this barrel connector right here, let's see if I can get it in focus. This barrel connector here has got a screwy kind of medium-sized insert. And often what you need is either a small barrel connector or a really large one. And what you're going to do is you're going to clip these wires, and then you're going to separate them into a V. And then you're going to strip off 1/4 of an inch of material, the insulation, and leave just the conductor so that you can get your multimeter out. When you plug this in, then you can hold on to this end, put your multimeter on it, and find out what side is positive. Normally, the side with the white stripe right here, or the side with the ribs, you'll see with some black cords. Let's see if I got an example. Sometimes with black cords, it'll be the side with some ribbing. You'll see some ribs on one side and the other side will be perfectly smooth. This one here, you can see it's got white on one side and black on the other. The white's probably the positive. Don't ever just assume that. I have been burned by that, and I've watched other people get burned by that even after I tell them. Do not assume that the white is positive. Always use your multimeter, always verify, cut the end, check for the positive, and then just verify that it's working. Because, I mean, who's to say that your power supply doesn't go bad just from sitting? I've seen it happen. So figure out what side is the positive and what side is the negative, and then all you gotta do is just splice it in to the barrel connector that you cut off your other power supply. And I'll have all sorts of devices around my shop where maybe I didn't have the right barrel connector, but maybe the power supply that I had that had the right size barrel connector doesn't output enough amps. So you can see this one right here is 1.5 amps. You see it right there. So if I find one that's got the right barrel connector, all I'll do is I'll cut the cord, splice in the correct one, and then I'm good to go. Bob's your uncle. So anyway, guys, that's a little instructional on these little power supplies. Just be wary that these power supplies, when they're plugged into the wall, at all times, they will consume 10% of their energy. And that's with all transformers. It's considered wasted electricity. So if you have this end plugged into the wall, but this end here is not plugged into any device, you think, oh, it's not wasting any electricity. No, it's wasting 10%. So right here you have 1.5 amps. That's 1500 milliamps. 10%. This one's going to be sucking up some juice just plugged into the wall someplace. So unless I'm using them, which you can see a couple of them back there, unless they're plugged into something, I normally don't have them plugged into the wall. I always put them in a drawer. So just be mindful of that, guys. And let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you.